Hello. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, my alarm did not go off this morning, so I woke up a couple minutes late. Luckily, still here ready to look at stuff, so that's good. In my other screen, ready to check out the market movers of the morning. What's up, Ted? That's a heck of a move. Let's go look at that heck of a move, guys. TTD up at 114. That's a hell of a gap. Wow, that's a pretty big gap. The trade desk, I don't know much about that one. I'll have to come back and check it out. It's not on my list, I'll tell you that. Ready for stocks after capitulation? Have to be filled layer then. Are you still doing voice to text, Ted? That's dangerous. I could have sworn voice to text was better back in the day. On that one stock I was looking at, no, not necessarily. The gap fill is just a. I mean, everything in investing is kind of a general rule. Nothing actually has to happen, so I wouldn't be super concerned about it. About a gap fill. 48. Holy bejesus, gapping way up here. Overstock. That's a heck of a gap. CDNA. That's interesting. Very low float though. Okay, it's still within range. Let's check this one out. Okay, not horrible. That's a technical term. Oh wow, this is a very, very early. They're just starting to accumulate this thing. $500 million market cap, so still pretty small market cap, has a lot to grow. Interesting. They develop diagnostic surveillance products used to monitor organ transplant recipients for acute cellular rejection. Hello, Daniel. Well, that's interesting, Ted. This is an interesting opportunity right here with this one, CDNA. As you can see here, this is a daily chart. This is this year, this is last year. It's been in a very long, prolonged downtrend, and then it had one base here, and now it's on a second stage base, potentially rallying here. So it's already doubled this year. Could potentially go up again. Even if it goes up 50%, that's a tremendous gain. Do you think about weed? We're going back up or just a bounce and back down? So the whole marijuana sector, actually, Cron is an MJ stock. Oh, you guys got to preface if it's Canadian or not, because I got to look it up on TradingView. Um, I only know that because, Power Hour members have asked to look at that about 12,000 times. So we were actually looking at this over here. There's a pretty nice cup with handle. This one has a flawed handle, though. It has an upward sloping handle. That's a flaw in the base. A pretty big flaw. And you can see the failed breakout right there. The volume was good. I mean, I can't argue for taking that. So far, come back down. It's probably okay right here. Let's see if we can get the 50-day moving average up. That's the 21 EMA. Let's make it the 50. All right, so cross back above the 50-day, which is healthy. So that's good. Yeah, I think that's okay. There's no breakout imminent right here. You're buying it a little early, so it may take a little while for this to actually do something, or meaningful, I should say. So, yeah, can this happen? Absolutely. Absolutely, this can go all the way out until the end of the year on weed here. So, um, yeah, if you want to give it that, that's fine. No problem there. But just kind of be aware of that. Also, you look at this situation here. There's a pretty long trend line here somewhere that was broken right about there. See that trend line was broken, had a spike higher. Kind of a double top situation. This one undercut the trend line and proceeded to go down quite a bit, about 50% before finally rallying all the way back through. And this one took about 6 months. This base took around 6 months. But if you were on top of it, then you probably could have gotten involved right about there. That would be a good place to get involved. And you can see you pretty much got all the run from $9 up to $40. That's pretty good. And then the tremendous volume started to come in. Actually, notice, that's right, where volume started to come in. I wasn't even looking at volume, but as usual, when you know how to do some charting, you can kind of pick those spots. It's hard to pull the trigger sometimes in real time, but you can see right there that kind of big wide cup formation. There's another one here. You could have bought it there too. Kind of most of these sideways consolidations, especially in some of these new sectors. There's a couple of entry points here actually. So you see that horizontal level, horizontal, horizontal. And then you have the actual larger breakout, which really started the run right there. This is your traditional breakout crossing over these highs, which is why there was a gap here. All these lower ones, no one's majorly into it at that stage. But if you can start to see the accumulation and you have some patience, July, August. So this is 2 months. This is 2 months between these two lines here. So if you bought this one, you would have waited, about 3 months. You still would have been up a tremendous amount before the breakout. You're still at 42%. So, kind of picking those spots I think is healthy. October. Okay. Then, yeah, you know what? You probably can just go ahead and buy it. It's already taken out. Not that exact situation, but you have a nice little gap here. Notice it was never filled. Probably never will be filled. You see the gap right there? Ted, you're talking about a gap. Here's a gap that was never filled, and it happens. But it did come back to this prior high, so sometimes you can kind of call that a gap fill. Then you have this nice little consolidation here that was already broken out in somewhat meaningful higher volume. You can see right there the little bit of increase over average, which is fine, very healthy. And then kind of off to the races we go. So you're stuck between, you know, you're almost in a 1-to-1 risk-reward ratio right here, which isn't the best one, but with a lot of these high growth stocks in new industries, you almost just buy it and hold on, to be quite honest with you. I mean, we're a little lower here in the base. We're not up here. If we were up here, I'd say wait for the breakout, which may end up being a gap. All right, let's get back to checking out some of the U.S. stocks, pre-market movers. We have CDNA, PVG, AIRG. None of those look really good yet. IIIV, 3 I's in a V. That's new. You're at 1659. So you're gapping up here on your first earnings report. That could get interesting depending on how this, how good the earnings is. All right, that one's, we're not going to do that one. Looking at the fundamentals on that. Not really working out. PBYI up to 54.50. Okay, not a huge day today. Very interesting initial volume pop here, though. That's basically my trend line, and it's at 449. So still pretty low. And not a lot of volume in the after-hours session. There's a lot of volume here, though, for some reason. Board of directors change. Okay. Blink Charging Company, really? I guess you make charging stations for electric vehicles. Let's find out. Owns, operates, and provides electric vehicle charging equipment and networked EV charging services. That's funny. Not a whole lot going on for these guys in terms of fundamentally. So it looks like some mutual funds did take interest over here. So 2 quarters of increasing fund ownership, 300% fund in change in funds owning stock. The question is there enough interest in these charging stations that they have? First time I'm hearing about these guys, but again, a fledgling industry, got to be a little bit interested in it. Kind of hard to do fundamental analysis on a live stream. I know it's kind of boring, not what everyone's used to, but these are kind of the things that you have to do when you're involved in the stock market is look around for movers and to, you know, see what happens when the market opens. Earnings are a good time to get a feel for, you know, how healthy a stock is. In a lot of these instances, you'll see gaps up. Let's see if we can see some examples of that. I pretty much only have leaders on my list, so that's going to be a little difficult. Guess I could blindly pick through stocks here. I didn't even look at Tesla yesterday. Or if that's selling or short selling. Oh, nice mosquitoes on my office. That's fantastic. That's looking like a potential entry. Right about there. TBT. So TBT is, I believe, a long bond. 20-year, yeah, 20-year, oh, it's ultra short 20-year ETF. That's right. Okay. Because they're raising yield, they're raising the yield price. So the underlying is going to go down. That's kind of how this is. So this is an interesting trade. Nothing, I mean, there's nothing doing yet, but you can see here bonds have basically bottomed. The interest rates are no longer going down. They're starting to go up. So there's always a possibility of a pretty good drop in bond prices. Okay, 2020. 42. Up 14%. But yeah, if it gets going up to 50, what's the story there? Story's pretty good at 50. Pretty good at 50. The question is, how long is it going to take? Because I believe the interest rate environment right now, they're still looking for a few more quarters. Interest rate hikes for next 2 years. Here you go, interest rate forecast. There's always potential trades everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. You just kind of have to kind of look for. What I'm looking at right now is, TBT, which is an ETF for ultra short, the 20-year bond. Okay, so if they raise the interest rates, the bond prices themselves get reduced, and so this will pop if the bond prices get reduced. And so you see that here we had pretty much all-time low interest rates in 2016, and slowly been rising, or at least this ETF has been rising ever since, putting in a very nice consolidation. You could call this a cup with handle, although it's a little bit flawed, but I believe the fundamentals of the bond market probably outweigh anything technical that's happening in that chart right there. And so trying to find out what the Fed is going to do is, could be very lucrative, to be quite frank with you, because you got something here at 36. This could double to 70 here if the interest rate goes up by a couple percentage points over the next couple of years. You always have to check out different investing ideas. Hello, Constantine. How you doing, buddy? So I think that's, I'm just going to put an alert right here. Done. Now we don't have to look at it anymore. All right, let's get back to the movers of the day, the pre-market movers. See if we can refresh this, see if the list has changed. Let's go back through them, as a matter of fact. ESCA. This has already come down quite significantly. This is a micro-cap stock, $3. TMSR. Man, mosquitoes killing me. AWX. MDLY. Okay, TTD. This is the trade desk. I'm not quite sure what these guys do, so let me check on these guys. Okay, they're first in their group, which is really nice. Self-service platform for ad buyers to purchase and manage data-driven digital advertising campaigns. Very interesting. Very interesting. Last quarter earnings surprise 500%. That's pretty cool. But yeah, there's a huge gap up here, by the way. It's 115. It's way up here. Right about there. A little bit higher than that. So big gap up on... Oh, this is that's overstock. They're not linked. I thought these... Oh, they are linked. How come... Okay, never mind. I'm just retarded. Never mind. 3 years EPS growth rate 63%. Fantastic. Sales change last quarter 61%. Pre-tax margin, debt, ROE are fantastic. DocU is another one. It's not running, but it's in the same industry group, I believe. Beautiful cup. Oh my goodness. Let's look at this thing. E-signature solution. DocuSign, I'm assuming. Yep, DocuSign. Okay. Good God. A 12,000% change in funds owning stock. So they're starting to... this could be a nice one, guys. Recent ICO or IPO. I like this one, DocU. That's great. It's got earnings coming out in a while. I'm going to put an alert up here at 65 so I don't forget about it. That's a beautiful daily chart. The fundamentals are pretty good. Great, good sales change. Pretty good EPS change. Yeah, there's not a whole lot not to like about this thing. Its margin is really weak. It has a negative margin. Somehow it has earnings growth but a negative margin. That's weird. You see weird stuff from time to time. 10 billion market cap in DocuSign. So I guess you have to ask yourself how much you think eDocs are worth. All right, 1 minute to the open, guys. Let's kind of see what happens. Let's pick our poison this morning. What are we going to put up here in spot number 2? Let's look at Fizz. Fizz had a pretty good day yesterday. Crossed that 110 level that we were talking about. And volume was higher than the previous days, which looked to shake the market out. So that's pretty healthy action. All right, so let's kind of watch this bell open and see what's what. See what's moving today. Yeah, I've used DocuSign too. It's okay. What's up, Eli? Looks like everybody wants the action. Yeah, but beautiful, beautiful cut base forming here in DocuSign. That's the key takeaway. And it looks like we're lower this morning, except for TDD, which we knew about. Already rocketing higher. Oh, selling off a little bit. TDD with a huge gap, 25% gap out of the gate. Those tend to not go much higher. They can, but they tend not to. So not a good day so far for most stocks. Going down. Race EVR, Huya down quite a bit today. That's the index. Come on, Huya, where are you? There you go. All right, so Huya lower. Not gonna take that trade. A lot of stuff down this morning. Mitch down here, down 1.5. Shutterstock down 1.5. Looks like we're due a down day at Wall Street today. Maybe that day. Actually, did not check the ES, which we probably should have done first thing. So there's the trend line in the S&P. There's two trend lines in the S&P 500 right here. Yeah, we're familiar there, Alec. We already covered that. That's why it's up here, as a matter of fact. It's up here due to the fact it was up so much. That's why it's on my list. So SNCR, you're seeing a lot of Stitch Fix up today, bucking the general market trend, which is very healthy. So kind of in a bad tape, you want to try to find stocks that are bucking the general market trend. So far, Stitch had a little gap up. We'll see what it does here. Coming back down, it looks like. Let's see if this green starts to expand or if it stays small. Check Twitter. Yeah, of course Twitter's lower. Facebook. Yeah, Facebook whipsawing around there. Alright, so for adding one or two stocks to the green rank so far today, nothing too crazy. S&P 500. The ES has quite a bit of volume compared to yesterday. So that's probably not a very good sign for today. Already almost half of yesterday's volume. Yesterday we had 686. Today we have basically 300,000. So almost half of yesterday's volume. 3 minutes after the open. We'll see if that's a push lower to accumulate so we can go higher, or if that is the beginning of a sell-off. So far, it doesn't look like it's either. So far, it looks like it's just kind of anemic market action. But we're flattening out here. Twilio is about to turn green on us. Regeneron is only down 0.21. A couple more greens been added. There's another one. So SNCR up about 11%, but this is a stock that's been beaten down pretty hard. So that's not much of a action. Funko going good after our earnings beat. There we go. Okay, so Funko having a good day. I would probably be interested in some Funko if I didn't already have full positions, full bags. But yeah, we missed it on that breakout point. Already up 20% from that consolidation. Funko looking really good. CVNA, Carvana from yesterday, popping up here today. That's healthy action. Roku was a big winner yesterday, jumping around this morning. Did I get it? Looks like, no, I didn't get it. Come on, Roku. I'm trying to find you, you son of a... Fine. Make me type you. Roku popping up here today. So that's pretty good. Bloom Energy up a little bit. There, Twilio positive finally. Oh, back down to negative. Ooh, Funko selling off. So the first half hour of the market, ladies and gentlemen, is the most whipsawing time of the day. There's a good example of that. My list here at the top, however, has slowly grown. Slowly grown. Looks like we've already about gone green by about a third on my watch list here. Turkey crash would help people invest in U.S. stocks. You know what? I don't know much about this Turkey crash. I heard Peter Brand talk about something on Forex on his Twitter feed. Oh, it's probably due to the U.S. tariffs that got put on them. Anyway, XOM had a trend line it came up to yesterday. A big gap down today. Let's look at these ones that are down the most. DBX. BIDA. Actually failing pretty hard right before earnings there. Cena, CMCM. All these are already at lows. Looks like race is done for a while. Gap down below the 50-day. This is Ferrari. Gap down below the 50-day. Came down to the 200-day. Now gap below the 200-day. This is either a good place to take a position, or we're going to start a big rundown. Melly having A bit of a gap down after yesterday's massive run. So that could just be a pause, which would be fine. BWA Cron here. Still in this consolidation. Having earnings in a couple of days. Where are the W's at? WWWW. EVR, NXPI. Okay, so 5 green now. So it looks like we're having a bit of a reversal here. So kind of a bit of a gap and go situation, at least in the SPX here. Ooh, Yandex, not healthy at all. After the big gap day, look at Car. Wow, failing on earnings. They didn't like what they heard from Car on earnings. Definitely seeing a lot of sector rotation. LPLA was looking pretty good. Not so much anymore. We'll see if this is going to hold, but these little gaps, not so much, not so very healthy. Okay, so now we have a full page of green. Let's see what's going on here. We got SNCR. Oh, actually having a pretty good day today. Was earnings yesterday? Oh, it was earnings. Okay. Minus 48 actual, 8.9 aftermarket. Absolutely. So SNCR getting bought up today, filling this gap much higher. You're probably able to enter this one if you're interested. This is an oil company, if I remember correctly. Let me go double check before I misspeak there. But going up 20% isn't too bad. This is an over-the-counter stock. All right, now this platform's freezing on me there. Okay, there we go. All right, so TTD, the one that had earnings up 17%, doing up there. Funko rallying back a little bit. Funko's not doing too bad here, man. I do like Funko. Carvana doing good. Roku continuing its move, which is healthy. FF whipsawing around. Twilio. Twilio is going to be really good. Well, it's already really good. Gapped up big on earnings, and off to the races we go. So this one's not quite stopping it. MetaFast. So MetaFast had the gap, sold off into the gap, and then now we're kind of resting. So not much to do here, but this is definitely one to keep an eye on if you're interested in getting in. TZA is a 3 times short ETF of the Russell 2000. So if the Russell goes down 1%, this goes up 3%. Just won't render on my chart there. There we go. FIVN, another recent earnings mover. Roku, MyGen. Okay, ABBV is one I've been looking at here recently, and I'm liking it a little more today. So we had a move down the other day. So earnings was over here. Apparently it was exactly $2, which is kind of funny. Now we have a higher low situation, trying to move out of that, seeing if we can get into higher highs. That would be pretty interesting action for something that's been basing for a while. Let's kind of blow this up. This looks potentially interesting. Very deep move though. Down 31%. Okay, that's not too bad. That's in line with the cup base. Also potential for a double bottom base here. Actually, this would be a double bottom base. So you have a low, a rise, and a low. This would be your technical buy point. Would be up here at the 107 level. So this is something that's very good. One thing about the market right now, guys, is a lot of gaps. There's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of situations that are very difficult to get into. You have to buy within the first 10 minutes of the open, as we've seen. Otherwise, it's pretty much moved to the point where you're not interested to get in anymore past its good buy range. This may be a situation, one of those rare situations where you find something at the bottom of what pretty is a well-defined base. AbbVie is a drug maker. Let me go double check on them. I just want to make sure the sector is a leading sector. It is. It's ranked 27 out of 197 sectors, or industry groups, so that's good. Has good earnings, 41% EPS, ROE of 185%, so very good fundamentally. Big market cap, 151 billion. Huh. 49% relative strength, not so good, but this is a turnaround play, so I don't think you're really looking at that. Reading an article here about it's about Mylan. Where does it talk about AbbVie? Okay, just mentions them. Nothing crazy there. Let's check out the options market here for Mylan. I'm sorry, AbbVie. Wow, pretty good prospects there if it gets back to 125 by the end of the year. That would, holding through one earnings report there. Yeah, so interesting action down here. I kind of really like this. Under the 200-day though, but you're in a pretty deep base, but it's well within normal parameters of pretty much everything. It doesn't even reset the base count though, to be honest with you. It's probably still going to be a fairly high weekly base. Oh no, this is going to reset your base count here. And then let's kind of see what we have in terms of a base count. So resets the base count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's a first stage base right there. Then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. So here's a second stage base. 13%. So this definitely meets flat base criteria. So first stage, second stage base. This does not undercut the low of this base, so this makes this a third stage base and a much larger base. So kind of interesting to see if that's going to work out or not. TTD up 30%. Man, now I've got five stocks green on my screen on the bottom here. So Generac lower, Twitter lower, PKG lower, here lower, Regeneron lower, Fizz lower. Pretty much everything I'm in is lower today. One of those days. One of those days. You can see the green here is expanding. We can see the ES has come off of the lows. Really not interested in going lower so far. Here's the ES on the 5-minute chart. As you can see, we're only a little bit into this day. Day just started. I want to get back to this AbbVie trade and kind of see what the potential damage is here. I guess that is a potential damage. 129 would be the potential damage. The question is, does it have what it takes to rally up there? I think in time it does. But it's still pretty low. All right, 15 minutes in. Let's see what the movers are on FinViz. And refresh the screen again. Okay, now, okay. 15 minutes apparently is different for them than it is for me. Overstock. Yeah, you know what? I didn't put Overstock on my list, but that was one that we noticed this morning. and selling off. Already had a pretty big gap up there. Looks like gapped up to the 200-day moving average and started selling off. Okay. So I'm going to pull FinViz up. Wow, what are they? So they have Overstock is a gap up and a green candle there at 47.50, but they have TTD as a red candle at 115. This is not a green candle. This should be a red candle. Technically it should be a green candle, but it should be an open green candle. I don't know what FinViz is doing with some of their candles here. Oh, they have it based off the open or the close of the prior day. That's what it is. CDNA, there's that cup with handle. We talked about that. $4 billion. Planet Fitness, very interesting. What's Planet Fitness doing? Insider trades. They're selling off some shares, fairly normalized. Okay, just a big run up here. Not much to do from a basing perspective. Pretty boring morning today. Unless you're a TDD stockholder, it's a pretty dang good morning if you held through earnings. Wow, look at SNCR. No after hours movement. And just gaps up 20% for no reason. Oops, darn it. Wonder why Oh, Funko had earnings today? Oh yeah, we just talked about them breaking out of this base, but earnings was in a couple of days. That's what it was. Yeah, I really do like Funko though. Stitch Fix, I also like Stitch Fix as well. I mentioned it yesterday, getting a little bit of a pop today, up 2.58%. One of the leaders today, as a matter of fact, number 5 on my particular watch list. Curling back, making a higher low here. That's healthy action. Definitely could continue going higher here. It may not rocket on you, but it probably will be $40 in the next month or two, which is about a 33% increase from here. Let's go ahead and look at the weekly chart on this. So you can see there we have that cup with a handle right here. A 1 week candle is fine. Recent ICO. Yeah, I think this thing's doing pretty good. Let's see if options have died down in terms of volatility. I'm looking right there at about $36. No, volatility is still really high on Stitch Fix. Darn it. But you could just take the underlying already has jumped 1% since we've been sitting here looking at it. Now up 3.4%. Was up 2.2% if I remember correctly just a little bit ago. Yeah, right there. Boom. Something like that. But I think Stitch Fix is a pretty good company. Fundamentally, it's really good. It's brand new, recent ICO. So, or IPO. All these IPOs tend to can have really good runs, but you can't just buy them out of the gate. So this is a good example of a good ICO. So there's ICO, that very first open candle, beautiful cup and handle base, and then kind of off to the races. So I think this thing's going to get going. Maybe the thing to do here is just for you options players out there, try to find something with very, very low premium that you're willing to take a risk on, and then just kind of letting it go. Essentially what you're doing there is lowering your cost down to the strike price of your option plus the dollar, if you really think this is going to go through the year. That's kind of what I'm looking at here, I guess. Looking at very low, very high intrinsic value in the option. I want to check on Shutterstock. This one I'm really interested in is Shutterstock. Let's take a look at Shutterstock. So Shutterstock having a very nice flurry of green candles up here after earnings, coming out from a very long declining trend line. I really like Shutterstock. $62. So there's a lot of stocks in the market. It's really hard to know what to invest in sometimes. It can be very daunting. Very, very daunting. And there's an overwhelming number of ideas and good chart setups, and trying to figure out exactly which ones to partake in can be, like I said, a daunting task. So now we're about over 1.5 of my windows here taken up by green. My leaders, though, I should say my watch list not doing too well. Any other stocks you guys are interested in? I'm just sitting here chatting. But if you guys are interested in looking at anything, we can take a look at that. TTD up 33% now, continuing its crazy run. Stitch Fix actually third on my list now. Got Funko third on my list now, or fourth on my list now. Kind of a weird, very big range doji day on Finco, although it is earnings day. I got to keep reminding myself that. I thought earnings already happened, but they didn't. We got Fang here. Fang's been on my watch list for a while. Looks like it's already after earnings, so that's healthy. Yeah, Fang can get going here. That may be of interest. But again, oil. I don't think oil's doing a whole lot. What's a good ticker for oil? I usually look at it on FinViz. So crude's at 67. You have to do some analysis on oil before you can do some analysis on some of these oil stocks. And so we peaked at 75 there. Nothing major going on, but yeah, right here we really could swing in either direction. Looks like there's a trend line here that may have been broken already, albeit very slightly. Probably right towards the bottom of this larger red candle, and then kind of a rounding top here potentially. But it'd be pretty big. This is going back to the beginning of the year, so maybe we have another rump back up towards 75 and see what the market does there. Could be a rounding top situation. in oil. So if that gets going, maybe that could get FANG going here for the next couple of months. And then if FANG gets going, see if it can do 20% or so. $163 in FANG. We'll look at that, Paul, in a second. And we'll check out Tesla too. FANG 163. And check this out before it leaves my brain. Oh, 163 is not too bad on FANG if it gets going. Contra Fund. I actually like the Contra Fund. That's the only mutual fund that I own. It's in a retirement account. And I did quite a bit of due diligence on that. I mean, I just have to go back to... Oh, there we go. Cool, it pulled up. Yeah, Contra Fund is one of the very few mutual funds that actually can outperform the markets. You know what? I haven't spent as much time scouting mutual funds as I have individual stocks, so I'm not completely up on which are good, but I do know the Contra Fund is good. That much I do know. So if you notice, this kind of looks a little bit like... let me change this here. Yeah, no, I do like the Contra Fund. Actually, I like it quite a bit. So it doesn't track an index, but they do a very, very good job they do a good job. They just basically do a good job. So there's the NASDAQ. You can see that there. It behaves a little bit in between the NASDAQ and the ES. So it's already broken out higher than the S&P 500. Okay. So there's the prior high there. It's already broken out similar to the NASDAQ, but it's not the NASDAQ, so it's not going to perform as good as the NASDAQ. But it usually outperforms the S&P 500. And there you can see the outperformance. Also from a drawdown perspective, it does a pretty good job. Like during 2008, did a pretty good job of it. But yeah, I don't mind the Contra Fund whatsoever. I'm going to have to pull up Morningstar to look up this other one because I want to know what it is. Extended Market Index Fund. Extended Market Index Fund? That's weird. Expense ratio is pretty good. Actually, is it? Yeah, 0.04. Yeah, I guess that would be low. There's some that are 0.00, and it's like, wow, that's low. Wow, Tesla service now. See, Eli? There you go. Mutual funds like my picks. Tesla now, Square, TMS, Workday, Dell. While they hold 3,000 stocks. What a job. How is this an index fund? I want to add the S&P 500 here. Huh. Pretty much mirrors that. Fun facts compare chart. There we go. This is where I can add the S&P 500. All right, so not too bad. Looks like it's tracking the S&P, which is pretty much all you can ask for out of a mutual fund. So the only thing I would say here is that if there's an additional spread that you're paying in terms of a commission, that it covers those additional gain, potential gain. So expense ratio of 0.04. So let me pull up the Contra Fund here. See what its expense ratio is. 0.65. So much higher expense ratio on the contra fund. But I do believe that this. So let's check this out. Much higher expense ratio though, which is not very. I don't like big expense ratios, but that wasn't too bad compared to some of the other options in the mutual fund pool that I had to choose from in my 401k. Okay. Advanced charting, the big block. Click that one, Randy. Okay, not gonna let me do the S&P 500. Yeah, most do, Paul. Most do. That's fairly normal. Okay, why can't I compare this to the S&P 500 for crying out loud? Oh, it sent me to MarketWatch. Okay, I know I can do it on Morningstar. Yeah, so there's the S&P 500 in the green. And so you can see in the blue, it overperformed via the downtrend in 2008. And then it's basically maintained. And notice its gap is getting wider as we go up. So it's pretty good. The contra fund is one of the few that do outperform the S&P 500. So there's the S&P, and there's your contra fund up there. Is that going to start the chart over? Yeah. So contra fund not so bad, definitely outperforming, up 11.4 versus 10.7. That's fairly significant. That's fairly significant. That's $700 out of 10 grand. It's about that's a good price performance difference. So contra fund good. Yeah, Nick, there's a ton of possibilities. There's an extensive myriad of possibilities when it um, comes to investing in your retirement account. One of the best methods I like is just a straight up index fund, unless you're going to scour Morningstar for the very few funds that outperform. Keep in mind, probably only about 5% of funds outperform the S&P 500 on an annualized basis consistently. And for me, consistency, I believe, is the key, and that generally doesn't happen very often. So it's hard to find those. I started doing a little bit of research into that, but it was just such a daunting task. I really couldn't find a good screener. Like you look at Morningstar's ratings, it doesn't really. I've seen Morningstar ratings of 5 stars in a bond fund. I'm like, how can a bond fund have 5 stars compared to another bond fund? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I thought the whole goal of this crap was to grow your money. So, they take a bunch of arbitrary things, I believe. At least this is, okay, keep in mind, this is my belief. I'm not a financial advisor. This is one of those situations where I'll throw a disclaimer out there. But my general belief is that if you're going to invest, you should invest for capital appreciation. That's your goal, is to invest in for capital appreciation. And if it's not appreciating your capital, how are you going to give it 5 stars? How's a bond fund appreciating your capital? It's not. When you're getting, upwards of 7, 8, 9% in the S&P 500, but your bond fund's going up 4 or 5% max, how's that appreciating your capital? So it's kind of hard to find these mutual funds that can outperform. And it's just difficult. I think one of the best things you can do right out of the gate is just find the index fund. Like Paul had one here. So it looks like I went 50-50 between the contra fund and the index fund I had available to me. FSEVX. So, you know, this is basically an index. Oh, this is the extended market index. Yeah, this is a weird one. Looks like it's barely outperforming the S&P 500. But if you just look at like an index mutual fund, anything that says index, then I would just invest in that. Really, because your fees are going to be extraordinarily low, which is very good, and you're going to get the S&P 500, the returns of the S&P. So what's wrong with that? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So that's the lazy way to invest, which isn't. There's nothing wrong with that. I think you can do good as long as you save a good portion of your income. But if for some reason you have a disproportionate amount of debt and you have to pay that off, or you have some other extenuating circumstances where you can't save, you know, a good amount of your income, then you basically just invest in the index fund. But if you can actively manage things, then I think you can do better than an index fund. And that's the whole point of looking at the markets. Otherwise, why even be here? Just throw it in the index fund and then walk away and go live your life and just dump as much money as you can into the index fund. But if you're going to try to outperform the markets, speaking of outperforming, Fizz is up 1.6% today. That's cool. If your goal is to maximize your gains, then you're going to have to be more active. Okay? You're definitely going to have to be more active in the markets. And that's going to involve some market timing. Maybe some very select stock picking. You know, there's some people that trade for income, some people that trade for retirement. So, all right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Market's kind of doing what it's doing. TTD, man, really rocketing today. We've seen a few of these after earnings just rocket up, and we got TTD up an additional 12% after the open. So that's pretty cool on TTD. This is going to be a pretty big winner this year. You'll probably see this up towards $150 later, maybe a little bit higher than that. SNCR up 17%, or 28%, excuse me. May continue going, but we never looked at Tesla, Eli. Sorry, you mentioned Tesla, buddy. We'll look at him real quick. There's not a lot to do with Tesla. It's pulling in from that big announcement. I think we're just going to have to wait and see if Elon Musk buys this out at 420. I think selling some 420 calls is probably the best thing to do in the market right now. Yeah, I think we can do that, Eli. Let's keep in touch. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here. See you guys later. Have a good one.